Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Did you have your lunch? Not yet? Or brunch? Okay. Yes, we'll start with infancy. I hope there is no doubt in prenatal development. Okay. So next one, or the first formal stage after birth is infancy. This is the first one. What do you think are the characteristics of infancy? We all were infants once, and we all have seen lots of infants. So tell me, what are their characteristic features? You can talk from any dimension. Yes. Do you have any infants at home now? No. Okay. Tell me, what are the features of the infancy stage of development or of infants? After lunch, don't feel drowsy and sleepy. Speak out something.
And brain development, and then
Brain development.
sensory development,
Hmm?
like hearing, feeling.
Hmm. Can you give me typical examples of the stage of infancy? Like typical features there are that we can observe in infancy.
They crawl around a lot.
Louder, louder.
Ma'am, they crawl around and they cry a lot.
Cry a lot, yes. The birth starts with a cry, isn't it? For most of us. Yeah. Then.
Ma'am,
Hmm?
the child crying when it's born,
Hmm?
isn't it done by the doctors, like by pinching the child?
Is it?
Now, if the child doesn't cry, they try doing other things to make it cry.
Yeah. That is it is it is a mechanism that is necessary as far as I know. Okay, like it's kind of getting the breathe, trying to breathe the whole process of respiration, because it's taking place after the child is born, and that is the cry is the just the beginning of that. Okay, like a cry is a newborn's cry is just the beginning of the life outside the womb. Inside the womb, the respiration methods, everything was different, isn't it? So outside the womb of the mother, this person or this individual, that is the infant, is trying to breathe. That is the first cry, as far as what I have read. Then, what are the other features? Okay, now the child is born. After that, what are the features in infancy stage? Think of some small children and answer. How many of you are big sisters and big brothers, elder ones at home? Only Devika? Kevin? You have a younger one?
No.
Even I thought, I didn't know that. Anybody else? Who's the elder one? No. What about Abhinav?
Yes, ma'am, I have
You have what?
an elder sister.
Elder sister, so you're the younger one. Okay. So let's ask, let's hear from Devika. How much is your age difference with your sibling?
5 years. ma'am.
5. So obviously you might remember, is it your brother or sister?
Sister. ma'am.
Sister's infancy, isn't it? Yes. What were the
They
features?
eat only when they are born. At that time, they can eat only like liquid kind of food.
Hmm?
And once they're a little bigger, only then they start eating solid food.
Hmm.
Then, yeah, they usually cry a lot during night,
Hmm.
and they disturb others' sleep.
Hmm.
Yeah. Then once they are little bigger, they start to crawl around.
Hmm. They become crawlers and toddlers and so on. Okay, then. What is the best memory that you have of your sister in an infant stage?
I don't know. Then small children usually scratch a lot, and yeah, they pinch us a lot.
Scratch a lot or try to grab things, isn't
Our
it?
hair, yeah.
Yeah, especially hair. Yes, when an infant comes closer to us, they tend to grab so much, grasp. They try to grasp so much. Yes, then. Others can contribute from the infant stories that you have experienced. Or if your parents have shared any stories with you of yourself, you can share that also. Nothing else? What is this man?
I'm being extremely curious of everything, like trying to touch fire.
Yes. Then anything that gets, I mean, if they catch something or if they get close or nearby to something, that is their toy, isn't it? Anything and everything that they get, it is a toy. Either a toy, otherwise to eat. Yes. Then that's all. Our infant story is such dull. Okay, let's see. At least the PPT is colorful. Okay, so we start with infancy. Please open page number 70 and keep those who have the textbook. Okay. Motor development is given in the section. It's about the reflexes. So the pictures of reflexes. Then physical development is there. Sorry. Then sensory abilities, sensory development are also given in the section. These will be the main subtopics that will be discussing. Okay. So infancy, again, please take page number 70 and who will read? Alina, can you read?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, louder please. Starting from the brain develops at an amazing rate.
The brain develops at an amazing rate before and after the birth. You have already read in chapter 3 about the parts of the brain and important role take in the cerebrum in the human function, such as language, perception, intelligence.
Yes, we
Just
already
before-
learned about the role of cerebrum in different functions, isn't it? Yes, then.
Just before birth, the newborn have most but not all brain cells.
Hmm.
The natural connection among
Neural
these cells
connections. Neural connections
neural connections among these cells develop at a
at
rapid
a
rate.
rapid rate. Okay, neural connections between different parts of the brain and the nervous system, it develops at a very rapid rate. So just before birth and just after birth, there is rapid development of the brain and the brain cells. Okay, so infancy, obviously that is right after the birth, that is the developmental stage right after birth, and then we can expect that the brain development will be very much high. in that period of time. Okay, then the newborn is not as helpless as you might think. Usually, we consider newborns as a very dependent individual, isn't it? Every time or all the time, we day and night, they require somebody beside them. And for each and everything, they are very much dependent on others. Usually, the primary caretaker. It is the mother, or if somebody else is taking care of the baby, then that is the person who's called the primary caretaker. So, what is the sentence given here? The newborn is not as helpless as you might think. Okay, they are not entirely dependent on everything. Okay, they have certain features, they have certain skills and abilities in themselves. So we'll see what they are. The activities needed to sustain life functions are present in the newborn. That is, it breathes, sucks, swallows, then discharges the bodily waste, the usual adaptive functions of human beings that already present in that individual, in that baby or the infant. Okay, so the newborns in their first week of life are able to indicate what direction the sound is coming from. Suppose you make a sound from one side, they might turn their heads towards that side, isn't it? Yes. Then they can distinguish the mother's voice from the voices of other women. During the course of this whole infancy period or the infancy stage of development, they start to recognize their mother's voice or the primary caretaker's voice from the other voices around. Okay, like when 5 women, including the mother, comes and calls the baby's name or calls out to the baby, and this baby does not respond to the rest of the 4 voices, but when he or she hears a mother's voice, they smile or respond or react. That means they can recognize the mother's voice. Then what else is given? They can initiate simple gestures like tongue protrusion and mouth opening, isn't it? They seem to imitate what is being shown to them, especially hide and seek, then tongue protrusion. When you show your tongue, they'll show they show their tongue back to you. Yes, that's very common. Then what else? Mouth opening. That is also very common, seen in infants. So after this, we'll divide into, I told you, development happens in different dimensions. So we learn about motor development, the whole physical or the body development, then the sensory development, and so on. We'll start with the motor one. And the most important part that we're going to discuss in motor development is the part of reflex. Where have you heard of reflex before? Where did we learn about reflex? Huh? Just a minute, my pen just went down. Yeah. Reflex?
Reflex action.
Reflex action carried out by the
Reflex arc.
reflex arc, but there is one part of the nerve system that is involved in it. Which is that?
Spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Yes, correct. Okay, so we begin with that. Motor development. Motor means, I told you to remember, motor means, or motor is related to
Movement.
movements. Always remember, motor means it's related to the movements. So newborns' movements are governed by the reflexes. Always the newborns' movements, they are governed by the reflexes. Now reflexes, what are reflexes? They are automatic built-in responses to stimuli. Automatic built-in responses to stimuli. If it is not automatic, if it needs a lot of processing, if it needs a lot of thought processes involved, then that will be dealt with by the brain, isn't it? But we have already learned that reflexes happen at the level of spinal cord, because there is no time to go up till the brain and then process and then come back. So they are adaptive responses. They are automatic built-in responses to stimuli. If any stimulus comes, if we have any automatic response to that, then that is a reflex. Okay. Now, genetically carried survival mechanisms and are the building blocks for subsequent motor development. They can also be genetically transmitted, genetically transferred from the parents to the offspring, and they are also survival mechanisms. As I told you, when we learned about the reflex, we told about this example, right? Touching something hot and then taking our hands off from that. That is again a survival mechanism. If we keep on placing our hands on that hot stuff, again we'll burn ourselves, isn't it? Yes, so it is a survival mechanism and are the building blocks for subsequent motor development. They are also the building blocks of subsequent motor development. Motor development means the development of the movements, the bodily movements. If all the bodily movements has to happen, at least one action should happen first, isn't it? Then a combination of actions or a combination of reflexes together put in with the other factors would become the whole movement that we call. Okay, if we want to stand up, it involves a lot of small movements, isn't it? Small reflexes also. Now, if we are going to sit on a chair, and if there is something sharp on that chair, obviously we'll stand up right at that moment itself, isn't it? Just like a reflex. Again, it is a survival mechanism so that we don't hurt ourselves. And also, that is also one building block of our whole motor development. The motor developments or the reflexes that happens in infancy, they are the basis of the whole motor development. Okay. That is why the parents get worried when we call out from one side, if the child does not turn to that side. Turning to that side is kind of reflex from the child. But if they don't turn, then the parents get worried. Is there any problem with my child? Are they not hearing properly? Or are they not able to respond properly? Okay. That is again worrying them, because that might cause any further problems in the motor development of the individual or the other forms of development of the same baby in the next stages of development. Okay, that might. That is the worry factor there. Okay, now they act as adaptive mechanisms that I already told you. Now, example for these are coughing, blinking, yawning, and so on. These are a few examples of reflexes. Coughing, blinking, yawning. Okay, now I want you all to do an activity. Can you all just blink your eye now? Make 5 blinks. Not more than that, because you'll feel sleepy. Okay, now try to cough. Can you unmute and cough? I'll say 1, 2, 3, start it. Then you can start. Unmute, please, everybody. Unmute. Okay, 1, 2, 3, start. Okay, now in the examples we saw, do you want to yawn also? No. Okay, so coughing, blinking of the eye, and also yawning. There are a few examples of reflexes. So what you did just now, are they reflexes?
No,
Why?
because we did it on command and not as a response to any stimuli.
Yes, you process the information, you process my question, isn't it? And then you decided whether to respond to it or not. Some of you might have not done that also, isn't it? And then some of you already responded. So that involves all the thought process, and obviously that would have taken place with the help of the brain, the cerebrum, basically. But reflexes, it happen at the level of spinal cord, basically. And they are not like the usual mechanisms or the usual movements that we do on command again. Okay, and it's not something that we consciously do. See this word, reflexes are automatic built-in responses, automatic built-in mechanisms. So they are happening automatically. Okay, what you did just now was with conscious awareness. It was not automatic, isn't it? Yes, do you agree? Yes. Okay. So that is about the motor development in general. The dominant part or the significant part in this portion is the reflex. Now we'll see each reflex separately Take page number 71. In that we have a table. There are 4 reflexes given there. Rooting, Moro, Grasp, and Babinski. Yeah, the 4 types of reflexes in an infant. This is the table 4.1. Okay, so Mary, can you read the first one? Can you not hear me? First one, can you read? Mary. Any problem? Not available. Amal, can you read the first one? Read from the board. I've shared it. Rooting. First one.
Rooting, turning the head and opening the mouth when touched on the neck,
On the neck or cheek?
on the cheek,
Cheek. Okay. And developmental course?
disappears between 3 and 6 months.
Yes, disappears between 3 and 6 months. Haven't you seen rooting reflex? You might not have named it as rooting reflex, but obviously you have seen this. Like when you touch the cheek of that infant, they tend to turn towards that side. Like if you touch the left cheek, they turn towards the left side. If you touch the right cheek, then they turn towards the right side. Okay, I used to do this all the time when my sister was an infant. I used to simply play with her just by touching. When we touch the right side, he'll turn to the right side. When we touch the left cheek, he'll turn to the left side. That is called the rooting reflex. I show you the picture. This is the one. Okay. Even when they are semi-asleep, if we touch the cheeks, they'll turn towards that side. That is a reflex in these infants. It is called the rooting reflex. Okay. Then second one, Abhinav, can you read? Abhinav? Please read the second one. Can't read? I cannot hear you. Emmeline?
Moro. If there is a loud noise, the baby will throw his or her arm outwards while arching his or her back, and then bring the arms together as if grasping something. Disappears in 6 to 7 months, although the reaction to loud noise is permanent.
Yes, the reaction to loud noises will be prominent, means even now when we hear a loud noise, you'll react and respond to it, isn't it? Yes, that is prominent and that will keep on going in your life in different ways. Your responses and the reactions might change. That is why it is said reflexes are the basic building blocks of your future motor development. Okay, now here what happens in Moro reflex, if there is a loud noise, the baby will throw his or her arms outwards. So arms will be thrown outwards first, and then while arching his or her back, they'll arch the body like this. The back side will be arched like this, not this much at least, and then bring the arms together as if grasping something. I'll show you the picture like this. Okay, they'll try to grasp. So suddenly when they hear a noise, they'll arch their back, they'll throw out their hands, and then they'll show as if they want to grasp something in their hands. The hands will be shown like that. Okay, this is what I told you. They are arching a bit, isn't it? The back part will be bent a bit. So that is the Moro reflex. Next one, grasp reflex. Who will read? Devika?
Yes, ma'am. Grasp. When a finger or some other object is pressed against the baby's palm, the baby's finger closes around it, disappears in 3 to 4 months, replaced by voluntary grasping.
Yes, that is also a very common thing. Like when when we touch the palm of the baby with even with our finger or any other object, they'll curl the fingers like this, isn't it? They'll try to grasp. That is grasp reflex. Now I am also grasping this stylus, isn't it? Yes, but is this a reflex? No, it is not. This is conscious. This is an action that I'm doing consciously by awareness. The other one happens automatically. Okay. If you have not tried this, if you meet any infant, just go and touch their palm. They'll close their hands like this. Most of them. Okay. That is called the grasp reflex. So when a finger or some other object, it might be, sorry, some or the other object other than the finger of another human being, can be anything. And if it is pressed against the baby's palm, the baby's fingers close around it. That is the grasp reflex. Now, fourth one, Kevin.
Babinski,
Hmm.
when the bottom of the baby's foot is stroked, the toes fan out and then curl.
Yes, when the bottom of the baby's foot is stroked. If you stroke something which the baby feels, then the toes fan out and then curl. First of all, the toes will fan out like this. Cannot show. It will fan out like this and then it will curl. Okay, that's what happens. It's just like when we tickle someone and they are barefoot, when we tickle someone on the foot area, it's the same thing happens, isn't it? They'll fan out and then curl. I'll show you the picture. So Moro, Grasp, and the other one, Babinski. See, first of all, it will fan out and then it will curl. This was the grasp reflex. See, grasping the finger. This is the grasp reflex regarding the finger, not any other object, but the finger. Okay, so these are the 4 reflexes that you have to study. And other than these, which are the other 3 examples of reflexes that we learned? Other than grasp, Moro, Babinski, and rooting, which are the other 3 that we learned?
Cuffing, blinking, and yawning.
Cuffing, blinking, and yawning. Okay, so these are related to the motor development of the infant in the infancy stage. Now let's see the next portion. Next 2 portions are very simple. Just general topics are given. This is a physical development. In physical development, what happens? Brain develops further. That I already told you in the beginning. The brain cells develop, so the whole brain develops further. Then total physical development also progresses. That is why this oil massage and everything is done for the infants. It is their growing period. Okay, the physical growth also is improved in that stage. Then muscles develop. Then nervous system. Again, in the beginning, I told you the neural connections, rapid neural connections are made. So nervous system is also developing. Then fine skills develop in the infants. Physical skills such as grasping something, then reaching for objects, then sitting, crawling, running, everything develops. Physical skills. Reaching for objects, obviously it is very common, isn't it? We cannot put anything on the TV stand or on the teapot. You'll come and pull it down all the time. And if they start to sit and crawl and walk, then there is no question of it. Everything goes down after they start achieving each milestone. So these are the basic developments that takes place in the physical development part. So the brain, nervous system, then the muscles, because motor movements are developing because of the reflex, isn't it? So muscles have also started to develop because muscles and bones are the ones that help us in moving physically. So they have to develop. Then physical development as a whole progresses. Then the fine skills and physical skills, they also develop. Okay, shall I turn to the next one?
Oh.
All right. Next one is sensory abilities. Sensory abilities in infancy. After this, we have cognitive development, socio-emotional development, and all that we'll see in the coming classes. We'll finish this and then stop. Okay, so sensory abilities. First of all, we saw the motor development. Then we saw the physical development, which is coming in relation to the motor development. Okay, it's not separate, but they are related to each other. Then comes the development of sensory abilities. Recognize mother's voice that we already discussed. The infant can recognize or distinguish between the mother's voice and the some strangers or outsiders voice, or if it is a similar voice to the mother, then that is also enough for the child to recognize it. Okay, then vision is lower than adult vision. Comparatively, their vision is lower. Vision is one among the senses, that's why we are discussing it here. So vision is comparatively lower than the adults, an adult's vision. Then by the first year of age, the vision becomes similar to those of adults. So in infancy, in the starting period, vision is slightly lower than the adult vision. And finally, when they reach 1 year of age, the vision comes to the normal level like the adults. Okay. Then full color vision develops by 3 months of age. So when they are born, they don't have full color vision. Okay, by 3 months, it is developed. But hearing, it's not like that. They can hear right after birth. That is why this recognition of mother's voice is very important in this stage. Even though they cannot recognize the mother's face properly, they'll start to recognize the mother's voice first. Okay, that's why it is said that we have to talk a lot to the infants. It helps in their language development. It helps in the other sensory developments also. Okay. Then touch, smell, taste, sensation, all these are present right from birth itself. Most prominent, we can say it's the hearing sensation. Vision is present. It's not that they are blind, they are born blind, but the vision is comparatively less than the proper vision of the adults. And finally, by 3 months of age, full color vision develops, and by the first year, it becomes the whole sensory vision. It becomes that like that of the adult, which is the next point. Okay, so that's it. Now see all the things once more. So we started with infancy. I told you they are not in a very helpless stage as we all might think. They have different abilities and skills in this stage, in the stage of infancy. So we saw the motor development. The basis of motor development are the reflexes. They are automatic in nature. They are built-in responses. They can be transferred through genetic mechanisms. Then they are survival mechanisms. They are adaptive mechanisms. Then they are the building blocks of the future motor development, the subsequent motor development. Then we learned a few examples. Along with that, we have to learn about 4 other reflexes, that is rooting, Moro, Grasp, and Babinski. And depending on this developmental course, this is differing. Okay, the 4 reflex. And here, I forgot to discuss this point. It is replaced by voluntary grasping. What do you mean by voluntary grasping? First of all, it is the reflex named grasp, and finally it is replaced by voluntary grasping. What do you mean by that? Voluntary grasping.
It's
Because
conscious and it's not
it's
a
action.
reflex.
Yes, just like I did, isn't it? We consciously grasp something. That is voluntary grasping. And that is why it is, I told you, it's very difficult to deal with them because they start to grasp everything, pull everything down, and then throw their toys here and there and so on. So after the grasp reflex, they start to grasp voluntarily by free will, by their own choice. Okay, that is the point mentioned there. So disappears in 3 to 4 months. When the grasp reflex disappears in 3 to 4 months, after this 4 months or maybe after 5 or 6 months, they start to do this voluntary grasping. Okay. Then again, that is why when we say this, what do you call, infant, when we tell them not to hold our hair or not to grasp onto our hair, they'll not listen because they won't understand. They're not doing it by their own will, isn't it? But when you tell a 1-year-old child that you'll get beaten up because you're doing this, again, they'll, if they fear you, then they'll leave the hands, isn't it? Yes, that is because that is voluntary grasping. And the previous one, the initial ones are not voluntary. It is automatic in nature. And that is why they are called as reflex. To be precise, it is the grasp reflex. Okay. So grasp, and then last one was Babinski. These are the pictures. Rooting, Moro, grasp, and Babinski. Then physical development, as I told you, nervous system, the muscular system, fine skills, physical skills, everything develops. And sensory abilities, the prominent one right after birth is the hearing sensation. Then it is the vision. Vision is present, but it becomes prominent after a certain period of time. And color vision develops only by 3 months of age. What an irony, isn't it? Children and kids make life colorful, but they start seeing the world in a very black and white manner. And after 3 or 4 months only, they can see the true color vision. Okay, so that's the portion. Any doubt in this? No? There is one of your seniors. When I ask, is there any doubt? The person will say, like this. I won't understand. Till now, I can't understand. Is it a yes or a no? And if I ask yes, did you understand anything? No. Even I stand in the same position. Okay, so next is cognitive development. And here comes Piaget's theory. Remember Piaget's theory? The previous ones I mentioned that. Okay, so we'll stop then. In the coming classes, we'll see the cognitive development as well as the rest. Okay, thank you.